What is up, family? This is Living Beyond the Dream podcast. My name is Mike. I'm joined by my man, Tyler. I'm excited. Tyler, what are we talking about today?
Today is a very important topic. So last week what we hit on was tons of people have dreams, but very few have execution. And what we left off with was the theory of self-actualization. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. So Mike, could you tell us what is self-actualization?
Self-actualization, I think it's the most important trait for a leader. I believe it is the character trait for success.
Okay.
And it's really this idea that I can look inward and realize where I can grow beyond what's happening on the exterior.
Okay.
So beyond my circumstances, beyond my problems, I can look at myself and realize I can make a change. One of my favorite people to study is Viktor Frankl. I love Viktor Frankl. And if you don't know anything about Viktor Frankl, you need to Google him. You need to read books about him. Powerful, powerful man. But Viktor was a survivor of the Holocaust during World War II. And he was a Jewish man in that time when it was the most horrific things happening. The most horrific things happened to him personally. His parents both died at the Holocaust. His wife died at the Holocaust. His brother died at the Holocaust, all in front of him. And he said that he would wake up every day, as all the Jewish people, and they would wake up wondering, was this the day that they were going to die and in the gas chambers?
Yeah.
Or was this the day they were going to go pull Jewish bodies out of the gas chambers?
Yeah.
And he said he remembers at this moment when he was naked in a corner of a prison cell, that the light bulb switched. And he realized that he could be more than his circumstances. And it was this powerful idea. He realized this one point. He goes, though the German Nazi soldiers have more liberty than I do, they're able to come and go. They're not prisoners.
Yeah.
I have more freedom than them.
Wow.
And he says, I have more freedom because my mind can go beyond my circumstances. And he realized that his circumstances didn't have to define who he was, because the moment you lose hope, you lose everything.
Wow.
It's when people die. So he would picture himself in the middle of his prison cell. It's crazy. And he would literally picture that he was in a lecture hall as a professor teaching to a whole room full of students. And he started building it. And every day, mentally and through his creative imagination, he dreamed of his life more. He pictured himself more. He pictured growth. And every day he got more freedom. Every day he got more wealth and health in his life. And he was more optimistic. And he started speaking this into the Jewish people. And he started building them. So much so, he makes a point where he says that even the German soldiers were going to him for help.
Wow.
Because they saw something in him that they didn't even have. Because their liberty can't buy something that the freedom of the mind can't.
Yeah.
So self-actualization is saying, man, I realize what's going on outside. I may not be able to control every exterior circumstance, but I can change the way I, on the inside, deal with and the way I function through those. So it's this powerful realization of yourself. And so it's beautiful, beautiful.
It's an awesome trait, but how do you do it? How do you access self-actualization?
Well, you've got to become honest with yourself. Okay? I say this a lot, but leaders are really good at looking through windows, really bad at looking in mirrors.
That's good.
And what I mean is we're really good at looking through a window and pointing out everything that's wrong, whether that's with an organization, whether that's with someone else, whether that's with a tragedy or circumstance or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll blame it. I don't know how many times you've watched Shark Tank. Have you ever watched
Shark
I
Tank.
love Shark Tank, right?
Whose team would you be on?
I'm probably going to say that I'm going to be Mark's team, but
I would do Mark.
I
would do Mark.
But hey, there's some good ones, right? Okay. But on Shark Tank, here's what happens. You have a business on there, right?
Yes.
And they're a business that's been functioning for a long time. And they'll go, well, what happened?
Yeah.
And how many times they say the economy?
Yeah.
Right? The economy happened, right? That's always, and what happens? You get the big roll of the eyes of the sharks, right? Because what they say, you're letting external things hinder interior growth, right? And there's a reason why, because what we do is we allow ourselves to look outward, not inward, right? And the reality is, yes, we're going to deal with some external stuff, but how we respond to them is important. So you got to be honest with yourself. And you got to be able to ask yourself some of the tough questions. Like some of the questions that I like to look at is, how am I developing the leaders around me?
Yeah.
Not how are the leaders around me failing, but how am I developing them when they fail?
Yeah.
Not how are the leaders making mistakes, but what am I responding to them? Because the reality is the weight rests on my shoulders, right? Yes, they have to have responsibility for the things they mess up, but I have the ultimate responsibility to lead them right.
Yeah.
Another great one is, how am I developing in my talent in a particular area so I can succeed? So am I not succeeding in this area, but is it because I'm not building my talent in this area? Am I not growing talent-wise? Another great one is, how am I dealing with the cards that are being dealt with me? Right? Am I complaining? Am I in my pity? Am I angry? Am I just pointing outward instead of focusing inward? Okay, yeah, this is the cards that were dealt with me.
Yeah.
They suck.
Yeah.
I don't like them. But am I going to fold and run, or am I going to build upon it? Right?
Yeah.
Another good one is, how hard am I working to pursue my dreams? Right? Am all I doing, like we said last week, dreaming about a dream?
Yeah.
Or am I executing on it?
Yeah.
Am I waking up early and going to bed late to work on my dream because I got to work a 40-hour work week, right?
Yeah.
When I went to launch the church, it took me 5+ years of dreaming, developing, and pursuing before it became my full-time job.
Yeah.
Even the first year and a half, almost 2 years of launching the church, I worked a 40-hour work week.
Wow.
Because I was willing to put in the work to live the dream I want.
Yeah.
And then and that kind of goes in the last one. How committed are you to the long haul?
Yeah.
Are you willing to go the distance?
Yeah.
Do you want overnight success, or do you want long-term success? Because the commitment level you're in, because when I went to plant the church, I made this decision. This is it.
Yeah.
There is no plan B.
Yeah.
There is no plan C. This is plan A through Z for me.
Yeah.
And that's the way I went into planning the church. And so I gave all that I had, and I put in all that work, and I worked all those hours, and I developed myself, and I was sacrificed because I knew that was it. I wanted to live my dream as a pastor. I wanted to plant Bloom Church in Branson, Missouri. I wanted it to be what my life calling was, and I wasn't going to have another option. So if it didn't work out instantly, I wasn't going to quit on that because that was it. Man, I pushed the chips to the middle of the table with the cards that were dealt with me, and that's where I worked. I worked on it. So those are some powerful things you need to ask yourself in life to start looking in the mirror, not just through the window.
That's so good. That's so good. This next question I want to ask you, you kind of just hit on it a little bit, but I want to talk about goals.
Okay.
So I feel like goals have to be super important in self-actualization.
100%.
And you talked about it a little bit with the church. Like, this is my goal, and there is no plan B. So can you expound on how important are goals? What are some best practices around setting goals and then achieving them?
Yes. Well, of course, goals are important.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of times we have output goals, not input goals.
Okay.
Output goals are this idea of what you want at the finish line, right? So that's your dream, basically. I want to lose weight. I want to be debt-free, right? I want to live this dream. I want to go on this vacation, right? Those are what you want at the end of the road, right?
Yeah.
You follow the yellow brick road, that's the Oz, right? That's going to get you home, right? The problem is you don't put input goals in with those. Input goals are measurable goals to get you to your dream, right? So you can't just say, I want to lose weight, right? That's your output goal.
Yeah.
You got to say, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to eat X amount of calories a day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work out X amount of times a week.
Yeah.
That's the input goals. That's going to get me to my output, right? I want to be debt free. So I'm going to create a budget and live off of this amount of money day in and day out, and then take the excess to pay off my debt, right? That's my measurable. So what you have to learn to realize is that dreams may be way up here, and you may be way down here at the bottom.
Yeah.
So your dreams may look high and out of reach, but guess what goals do? They create the steps that allows you to rise to reach it.
That's good.
So you don't have to know all the steps. You just need to know the first 5 steps to get there.
Yeah.
Because if you get 5 steps up, you're going to realize the next 5 steps.
Yeah.
So what you've got to start realizing in your life is, what are those steps I need to take? I don't need to know how exactly I'm going to get all the way to point Z, but I need to know how I'm going to get to point D, E, and F, right? And so a lot of that is simple things. If you're wanting to create a business, well, the very first step you need to learn is to put a business plan together.
Yeah.
You need to know how much it's going to cost. You need to know what your input's going to be. You need to know how many employees you're going to need. You're going to need to know how much training or inventory or whatever that is. That is a measurable step. I'm going to put a business plan together to get my mind wrapped around it so then I can move on to the next point. So you've got to start figuring these things out. But also, you need to start developing these for your life, right? You need to start looking at your life in an honest example and then start allowing yourself to put goals into that. And so I tell people this a lot. You need to learn from your personality. You need to learn from your career. You need to learn from your relationships. And you need to learn from yourself as a leader. And you need to look at those areas in very honest ways and to develop it. How many times do we use our personality as an excuse for lack of growth, right? So if we make a mistake or we rub people the wrong way or we're not pursuing our goals, what do we say? That's just not my personality. Right? Well, that's not my personality. I'm not an extrovert, or, I'm not a bold person, or, you know what? Sometimes I'm just blunt, right? And we'll say, that's just not my... Instead of looking at where we may be struggling based on personality and say, okay, how can I grow and work on that, right? So maybe one way is, you know what? I'm an introvert, but I realize to grow my dream, I've got to start becoming more of a pursuant of people. So that's my output. My input is I'm going to schedule X amount of meetings a week so I can start talking to people about my dream and getting them to buy into the dream and getting people to join this journey with me, right? That's a input goal that's going to add to your output goal, right? So you need to look at that. A lot of times we do that with whether that's our careers, right? Okay, well, we're coming short on some money, or we're coming short on growth, or we're not seeing the church grow the way we want it to grow, right? Well, why is it not growing? Well, you need to start looking and evaluating your Sunday service. You need to be looking at the ministries. You need to be looking at your membership platforms. You need to be looking at how you're getting people to take next steps. And then you've got to be real to start setting up goals. Okay, our Sunday services aren't where we want it to be. Okay, we realized and identified the problems. Now let's start setting up goals to fix the issues, right? Well, Pastor Mike, I don't got all the money, right? You don't have to have all the money the first week, but you can come up with enough money to fix one problem one week. And then the next month fix another problem. And then next month fix another problem, because you're in this for the long haul, remember? This is not short term. So you got to start identifying it. Relationships, same thing. Relationship struggling. You got to identify the problem and then start saying, you know what? I'm going to start dating my spouse. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to start spending more time with each other. I'm going to start realizing what I'm doing that's wrong. I'm not communicating enough. Right? And I'm going to start blocking out measurable times that we actually have this moment. And then the same thing as a leader, right? So how am I not leading my people? So you've got to start setting measurable goals, but identifying where you're coming short and then start building measurables around that for growth in your life.
I think that's so important, and I want to hit on two things that you just talked about, and I'm actually going to say one of your quotes here in just a second.
It's probably a quote I stole.
It's so good, though. So, in early stages of Bloom, we didn't have a lot of financial resources. You know what I mean? So we had to get creative in our solutions and in our fixes. And I think a lot of times as leaders, the easy thing to do is just say, well, let's throw money at it. Let's buy this or something and it'll be the fix. But I think that, and you hit on it, but it's a lack of financial resources breeds creativity.
100%.
And I think that is so powerful for young people or young leaders or church starters or anyone that's just starting out in something to really understand is it's not the end of the rope if you don't have the financial resources. Get creative and move forward when you can.
Well, excellence is not birthed from having the best of everything. It's being the best with what you're given.
So good.
And creativity is saying I can be excellent no matter where I've been given a platform, how big my platform is, or what equipment or resources I've been given. I can be excellent in that. And too many times, remember, we're looking outward and blaming it, right? We're looking through the window and going, well, if I had the money that church had, and I had the resource that church had, and I had the soundboard that church had, and if I had the staff members that church had, and what do? We're not looking inward, right? Yeah, you might not have the most expensive soundboard, but that don't mean you can't woodshed every week and start practicing to make sure that worship team's sounding good, right? You may not be able to have the greatest mic to preach from, but that don't mean that's and the greatest video to recapture your sermons.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean you can't preach a powerful message week in and week out.
Yeah.
You may not have the greatest facility in the world, but that doesn't mean that facility that can't be clean.
Yeah.
You can't throw some paint on the walls,
on.
and you can't be greeting people friendly and
good.
welcoming outside to make people realize that this is a place that they can belong to.
Yeah.
So we can be great in areas even though we financially don't have the resources that another church does. Because guess what? I got a newsflash for you. When they started their church, they weren't given millions of dollars. Yeah. They started just like everybody from the bottom. Started from the bottom, now they're here, right? Here. So sometimes you got to start from the bottom, but then you can sing Drake, right?
That's
and now
it.
you're here. Come on, somebody.
All right. So let's go back to goals just real quick. How important, obviously goals are important, and we just hit on that, but setting specific goals. So like one that you just said was, maybe you have a pastor that comes in and says, we need to do better at our Sunday services. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not really a measurable goal. So how important is drilling down, getting specific, and kind of just digging into that goal?
Well, if you're not going to be specific, you're going to have only general output goals, right? Yeah. So input goals are specifics, right? Mm-hmm. You're specifying on them. So the Sunday service is not good. Well, the pastor should know better than just saying Sunday service is not good, because that's a broad statement. Because don't tell me everything was bad, right? Yeah. Okay, so you got to know where you need to grow from, right? Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of that is twofold, right? Number one, that you're going to look at it through the lens of a visitor.
Yeah.
So you've got to start realizing, okay, I got to look at it things through first-time impression. So what I'll do sometimes is I actually will walk through a building like I'm acting like I'm first time there. So I'll walk through our building like I'm first-time guest there, right? So I'm trying to figure out what someone who experienced, from the way they would feel when they're walking into our building, from signage to cleanliness to the way that we do our transitions and the way that I speak. Is it insider-only language or is it outsider language, right? So those are big key factors. Secondly, a good way to do that is visiting another church. Yeah. Because now you're a first-time visitor. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be seeing things that you like and seeing things you dislike. And some of the things you dislike may be the very things you're doing, but because it's your church and you're comfortable, you don't recognize it, right? So it's really important to do that and start recognizing. And thirdly, you need to listen to the comments coming in. That's good. We so easily want to disregard every negative comment, right? They just hate us, right? Why you got to be hating, right? And that's what we do. And listen to me, some of it is crazy hate. Yeah. But you may be able to pick something out of it that's truth. Mm-hmm. You don't have to take everything, but there may be some semblance of truth that they're saying that could be a tweak that you make that makes it important. So what you got to do is be honest with yourself. And when you're honest to say, I want to grow, and you say, I want to grow at all costs, you're willing to dive a little bit deeper to recognize where you can grow in. Yeah. Okay? You can't just say, I want to grow a church, right? Okay, I realize I want to grow a church. So I'm willing to look at all the places we're falling short in so we can start diving a little bit deeper. Yeah. And a little bonus thing that we do here at Bloom is we actually do surveys every year with 30 to 50 people we randomly pick. Yep. Demographic, different ages, married, givers, servers, all these different things. Okay, so we do it. And they fill out a survey, and then we get a really good inside look at where we're falling short in and where we're working really well in. And so what we try to do is, and we didn't create this, has been mentored by years of churches. Mm-hmm. We try to find the area that we are the worst in and work and spend a year trying to get better at that. Yeah. And the way the picture's shown, it's kind of like a bucket with holes going all the way down the side, right? If you plug the hole at the top and you keep pouring water in it, guess what? The water's going to keep running out of the hole at the bottom. Yeah. But if you plug the worst area that you're worst at, and you spend all your time fixing it, naturally the water will rise. Mm-hmm. So naturally your church will grow. Yeah. So you got to just start working and realize you're in this for the long haul. Yeah. But you got to be willing to hear all the things you don't want to hear. Yeah. And recognize all the things you don't want to recognize, because here's what we don't like. We don't like for people to think we did something wrong. Yeah. And we don't like for our church to us feel like our church has things that need to work on, right? Mm-hmm. We like to be ostriches with our heads in the sand and be like, well, it's just everybody else's problem. Right. It don't work that way.
That actually is a great segue into this next question. Okay. Is self-actualization always a positive thing?
It is a positive thing until you become self-deprecation.
That's good.
Okay?
That's
If
really
all
good.
you do is see the wrong and all you do is complain and you condemn yourself and you hate on yourself and you think you're never good, then no, it's not. That's not healthy. But that's not self-actualization. That's condemnation. And there's a difference there.
good.
Okay? So, we celebrate the wins just as much as we celebrate things we need to work on, right? We celebrate how many people step in a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
We celebrate when dream teamers are knocking it out of the park and serving well. We celebrate when our staff do great things. We talk about the wins before we ever talk about the things we need to work on and fix, right? So you've got to have a healthy dose of realizing you're going in the right direction, right? And celebrate so you don't just condemn, right?
Yeah.
And so there is this balance to everything, right?
Yeah.
You're not 100% horrible. And you may think it right now because your church ain't growing or your business is kind of stalling or financially you feel like it's not going that well. And you want to take that and look at it like you're the worst leader in the world and your church is horrible and everything. No, you're not the worst at everything.
Yeah.
You're not the most horrific leader ever. There's just areas you need to work on.
Yeah.
But there's also great areas that you're awesome at.
Yeah.
And you've got to learn not to let condemnation be a replacement for self-actualization.
That's so good. That's so good. I think growth, just continually identifying and growing from it that's the key. So what are some best practices in making sure that you are just always growing?
Well, I'm constantly asking myself on a regular basis where I'm going and how I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Paul says that we are to daily take up the cross, right? And we are to, throw off the weight that's slowing us down. And so what that does is that we're constantly realizing where we're going and how we can grow from. And so I like to set personal goals for myself.
Yeah.
So I have personal things I try to do week in and week out. And what I try to do is I try to set goals weekly or monthly. The reason why is because I get constant reflection time.
Yeah.
So I can constantly reflect whether I worked out enough in a week, right?
Yeah.
Whether I slept enough that week, right? Whether I read the way I wanted to, that week. I set that with my career goals also, right?
Yeah.
Are we hitting our measurables in as a church staff weekly?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you're setting your goals in ways that you can reflect on them on a weekly basis so that you can quickly adjust it. Same thing with my relationship goals. I make sure I date my wife.
Yeah.
Weekly, right? I make sure I have enough family time weekly. And I can look back very quickly and realize, hey, that was lopsided.
Yeah.
What you don't want is to have too much time go by and then feel like you've got too much distance between your goal and where you're actually at.
Yeah.
So make sure you're doing these moments where you can refresh on a weekly. I would never go beyond a month. Some goals take a little bit longer to get to, but even if it's a longer goal to get to, you could have weekly benchmarks to get there, and then that's going to keep you refreshing the button in your life.
That's so good. Do you have any actions that you do, like in your goals? Do you say, I'm going to read one book, or I'm going to listen to X amount of podcasts? Or
that's what I do. Well, I set a yearly goal for books I want to read a year that breaks down into monthly goals. Okay. And then what I try to do reading wise, this is a little bit of repertoire. I try to read at least 1 to 2 chapters a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody can read 1 to 2 chapters a day.
Yeah.
If I read 1 to 2 chapters a day, a normal book's 10 to 12 chapters. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
So I can knock out easily 2 books a month, if not more,
Yeah.
depending on how I'm reading, right? So those are simple things that you can do. Same thing with podcasts, right? I try to always make sure I'm listening to at least 1 podcast a day in my commute.
Yeah.
Or when I'm working out.
Yeah.
Those are easy measurables. Same thing working out. I try to make sure I work out. I have measurables on how many push-ups I do a day, and then what I do weekly, how many times I work out. So those are what I try to do personally when I'm trying to do. So what I do is measurables, specifics.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in closing, I think we're almost hitting our time here.
Okay.
In closing, one last question to the viewer or to the listener right now that says, I'm in a rut. I feel like self-actualization is what I need, but I'm scared to really look. What would you say to that person?
What do you have to lose? You're already in a rut.
Yeah.
You're already not happy where you're at. So why don't you change it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to lose to risk something to be something more than where you're at now?
That's so good.
Right? That extra Netflix show ain't making you happier, right?
Yeah.
That extra sleep ain't helping. Acting like there ain't no problems in your church isn't making your church grow.
Yeah.
So what do you have to lose, right? Because you're not happy now. So let's knock it out of the park. Let's crush it. Let's win it. And let's be who we are called and created to be.
That's so good. That's so good. And next week, this kind of piggybacks off of what we just talked about. But next week, we have an extremely important message. And it is, failure isn't a bad word.
Ooh, come on.
It's going to be so powerful.
It's not a bad word. It's been a misconception given to you from your childhood. So realize failure is not a bad word. And I'm excited to dive into that topic. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe, but also ring a ding that bell so you never miss an episode. Can't wait to see you back next week. We pray God's peace.